Okay.
There we go. Yeah. So do you want to do an attendance register as well, Chair, when you're ready?
Okay. Well, I welcome everyone first, and it's a long time since we've got together, certainly as a public service board. But I know that everyone has been extremely busy over the last 3 or 4 months in different forms and contributing to this difficult period in many different ways. And so again, welcome to everyone. Before I start, as I said, welcome to the Swansea Public Services Board Joint Committee, which is being held under the local authorities' Coronavirus Meetings Wales Regulations 2020. I'd like to manage expectations from the outset and highlight that there may be some glitches in this meeting. We had a little one already. Please be reassured that we'll learn from them and keep striving towards a seamless process. And I think we're well along that road in Swansea particularly. I am also conscious that a number of the participants may have issues with bandwidth and would suggest they turn off the video should that become an issue. The meeting is being broadcast live so that members of the public and others may view it. And please ensure that you all mute your microphones and remember to unmute when you are called to speak. Okay. So, yes, Al, if we can do the roll call then, please.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Councillor Clive Lloyd.
Yeah, here.
Nuria Zole. Yep. Councillor Jan Curtis.
Yes, you're present.
Martin Evans.
Here, Miss.
Adam Hill.
Present.
Roger Thomas.
Present.
And we have Councillor David Hopkins, who I believe is covering for the leader who was absent today as well.
Yeah, present.
And then we've got Chris Owen, who's our new Welsh Government representative.
Present.
Joanna Mal. Amanda Carr.
Yes, I'm here.
Mark Brace.
Yes, present.
Is Phil McDonald with us yet? Joining us, might join us in a bit. And Chris Kingsley.
Yep.
And Leanna Hearn.
Yep, present.
And I'm Alison Lowe, Democratic Services Officer. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, and special welcome to Chris, who's joining us as the Welsh Government representative. So welcome, Chris, to the first meeting.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. In terms of, I'm sure you're all familiar with online meetings now, but in terms of participating in the meeting, if those of you who have got the hand signal can raise that if you wish to speak or contribute. If not, if you've got those old-fashioned Apple type devices with no hand, then you can put the conversation, if you want to put your question or notify me that you wish to speak in the meeting chat, and I'll pick that up as the meeting progresses. Okay, so move on to the next item of the agenda, which is disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Any? No? Okay. And then we move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, which are attached to the papers. So if I just go through those quickly, starting on page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. Yeah, and those are the meeting of the last meeting back in February, so some time ago. Would somebody like to move those as a true and accurate record? Adam? Yeah, seconder? Do we have a seconder? Jan? Yeah, excellent. Okay, thank you for that. So then item 4 then is update on actions from previous meeting. Just get to that. So the only one I can see that's outstanding is Adam Hill to liaise with Karen Jones and Joe Marl and Angharad Metcalf, and relevant information to be circulated to the Public Service Board. On what? Adam will enlighten us now.
Thanks, Clive. Yeah, so this was just from the previous work stream, partly in terms of the drive scheme, you may recall from the last meeting, and also in terms of how we are looking to tackle more holistically around the substance misuse, ACEs, mental health and violence against women and girls, and how we can wrap that up and bring that all together. Obviously, we made initial contact, but then COVID hit, so that hasn't been progressed as much as we would. However, we do have a regional group which is looking at that anyway on the back of the joint PSB, and that's one of the areas that we focus on. So I propose that we pick that up anyway under there, of which all partners are on that table. So we can do it as part of that. So now that we're sort of returning back and recovering, we'll pick that up again and just make sure. No, that's not to say that things haven't been happening. It's just in relation to all of us getting together. There have been a few other pressing things that we've had to pick up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any questions for Adam on that particular one? No, I can't see. And I think that's the only one. It's outstanding. Okay, we move then to item 5 now, which is public question time. We have 10 minutes in which the public can ask questions. I know that we do have one question from Mr. Derek Roberts, which he has submitted in advance. The question is in respect of item 7 of the draft Public Service Board Annual Report, page 22. The Live Well, Age Well forums for citizens aged 50 plus, coordinated by Swansea Council, have been attracting greater numbers of participants over the last year. Unfortunately, I fear I must challenge that statement. The 50 plus forum, like many others now in Wales, has not received the previously supplied officer support required to function and has been denied access to the previous extensive database of members to enable it to operate effectively. The 50 plus group has not met for many months now, and the original members now feel excluded and ignored. A fully functional 50 plus group is now needed more urgently than ever, given the continued isolation of older people, which will continue probably until a vaccine becomes available. What actions are proposed to reinstate a fully functioning 50 plus group? Derek Roberts, Unite Swansea Area Retired Members Equalities Officer. So Adam.
Yeah, thank you. So in response to that, I think I'll set a little bit of a scene, but also try and answer where we're going. So I think the first thing is just to draw your attention to the financial support for the historical 50 plus network ceased in 2015, and that was due to withdrawal of funds from Welsh Government. Since then, though, the local authority have provided limited officer support to try and keep things going to both the 50 plus network, which is now called Encompass, along with many other 50 plus community groups. Support for the 50 plus community groups and a database of community members wishing to engage is still held by the council and are in regular communication, and that's still ongoing. Council officers have continued to provide support to Encompass as an independently constituted group and have initiated meetings with SCVS to seek further support to identify funding opportunities and strengthen their structure and membership. Based on the feedback from the community events, such as the UK Day of Older Persons, the council have developed a series of Live Well, Age Well forums on topics initiated and voted on by community members for a wide range of groups and individual participants, not just the 50 plus network. Live Well, Age Well forums and events aim to provide a series of opportunities to address issues of interest, importance and concern to older people in the community and provide residents 50 plus a strengthened voice to influence policy and planning services. In response to that feedback for Swansea residents, Ageing Well officers in the Life Stages team have worked with a variety of partners and have a planned series of dates where a combination of talks and guest speakers, refreshments and stalls, providing expert information, was planned, and they were through May, July, September and into January next year. Obviously for reasons that I'm sure we all understand, that due to COVID-19 they've unfortunately had to be postponed because we couldn't safely deliver these in a format with social distancing. So the engagement of the 50 plus is extremely important to both the PSB and the council, and we continually seek opportunities to increase engagement via forums, community meetings, redevelopment of the Live Well, Age Well newsletter, and feedback through evaluations, which continually shape these developments, working with the Older Persons Commissioner. It is intended for these forums to continue. However, with COVID, the format may need to change, and we're looking at how we can develop that to either an online format or some other way that we can happen. And we must remember that it's not just the council that deliver 50 plus programs. They're delivered from many partners and many agencies across Swansea. Face-to-face engagement has become more difficult, as we know, and we're more than aware that moving to a digital platform has its challenges. So the council is also working on how we can address the digital exclusion of older people and what we can do to improve this so that the older people are not isolated. And certainly during COVID, we've done a lot of work with the older community to make sure they haven't been isolated, and that we have had the vulnerable network, we've had the telephone calls, we've had, working with voluntary sector and others to make sure that there has always been access to services for 50 plus, vulnerable or shielding. So all in all, we are looking to support the 50 plus within the resources that we have available, and that hasn't changed. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, thank you, Adam, for that detailed response. I think that although it might not have been in the form that was previously existed around 50 plus, certainly through the COVID crisis, the support that the council has given, and the wider third sector and public sector in general to those who are shielding and the most vulnerable in society has been second to none. Ensuring that they have contact, and again, I know internally within the council through our local authority coordinator network, they will play a vital role, and we're looking at ways we've expanded that during COVID. Unfortunately, some of the people that we use from different departments now have to go back to those departments, but we are actively looking now at ways of how we can try and retain on a wider scope and a wider footprint the best bits of that local area coordinator role as well, to supplement all the stuff that we've been doing. And as you've said in your response, the 50 plus group is vitally important, and we'll continue to support that. Okay, do we have any other members of the public that would like to ask a question?
Chair, we've not received any other
okay,
questions.
Thanks, Al. Thank you, Al. If not, then we'll move on to item 6 then, which is early years, the endorsement of changes to the Pathfinder work. Adam, I think you're going to lead on this one as well.
I am, yeah. It's probably a little early, but it was worth getting a steer, we thought, from the joint committee in terms of moving this forward. So the early years have held a number of meetings, and a lot of this stems back to pre-COVID. So again, we may need to look at this in light of further discussions about where the PSB is looking to develop its work programme moving forward. But currently, obviously, the early years is that early sort of 0 to 3 years of age, and a number of the schemes that work within the early years and reporting extend beyond that younger age group. So Jigsaw, for example, is 24 years and under. Additional learning needs is for 3-4 year olds, and again some of the more older children with additional learning needs. As I say, Pathfinder's up to 7. And so it was more of a question of whether or not it is still the right age group that's set with there. Now, it was already defined as part of the wellbeing objective, those age groups, and it was really just seeking the joint committee's opinion and approval, really, to revisit that on behalf of the group and just have a look whether that still is the best age group for the interventions that are put in. There's obviously a lot of work that goes with limited resources, and so we want to make sure that it is the best start that children can have, and whether that's perhaps just too narrower an age group currently. And so it was to seek, in this point, just to explore the areas of ageing and whether or not we should extend it perhaps up to 7. So it truly is that early years and first years in school. But it's not to say that that is the way, just to seek approval that we could, within that work stream, go away and work that up and then come back with a report, so long as committee members are happy to do that.
Okay, so you've had a proposal from Adam, I guess. Really, has any views from anyone? Everyone happy to proceed as Adam has outlined? Not seeing any hands or any comments, so I'm assuming everyone's happy with that. So
Right.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll progress as suggested, Adam, with that that widening remit. Okay. Item 7 then is the sign off of the Swansea Public Service Board annual report. This is one where we will require a vote. So once we've gone through Adam's outline of the report, we'll go. Alison from Dem Services will come in and we'll do a roll call of whether we're prepared to support that formally. Yeah. Okay. So Adam, again, over to you.
Thanks, Clive. So first of all, thank you to everyone for your input into this. This is a document that is for all the partners around the table in terms of bringing this together, and a special thanks to Leanne, who were like herding cats, managed to coordinate everyone and bring it together into this really comprehensive document. So many thanks to Leanne. I'm not going to say too much because we've had a number of iterations of this, and this is the final one, other than that there are just 2 small amendments that I'd just like to go. They're only really typos, but just for clarity, rather than just do the typos, so that we have the proper process. So on page 7 of the document, not of your bundle, but of the document itself. So I just whiz down to page 7. So it's page 17 for those that are looking at it through the whole agenda and papers. It's to do with the Convention on Biological Diversity. So the current comment is there. The board is committed to delivering against the principles of the convention. Actually, we just need to amend that to the board is committed to delivering the principles of the Convention on Biological Diversity as set out in the adopted Swansea Local Biodiversity Action Plan 2005. So it's only a slight amendment of words in order to get the right inference. The next one is on page 34. 34, which is page 44 of your bundle, and again it's just about not reading well, so it's the top of the page there. The Swansea Bay, actually it's travel planning group, which one is it? Yeah, just the top page. So it's just a slight amendment. So it currently reads, the Swansea Bay Sustainable Travel Planning Group also met for in period bringing together. We want to change to the Swansea Bay Sustainable Travel Planning Group also met on several occasions bringing together. So there was the word for, as in the number 4 worded, needs to come out, and met on several occasions will be inserted. They're the only 2 amendments out of the document, but again, thanks for all the amendments, changes that everyone's put in, and again, your commitment to completing this document.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I'd like to echo those thanks. I know it's been it's sometimes difficult to pull all this together, and we've had, as you say, a few iterations of it. So, but I think at the end, we've got a really good, succinct report. to present. So again, I'll open it up to the members for any comments or contributions. Martin.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Adam, for taking us through this. I support the proposed amendments by Adam there, and I apologise, a bit of word blindness really, because that working with nature section is one I take ownership for. So thanks for picking that up. I support the annual report as it is. It reads generally really well. I suspect our annual report next year will look a little different given the circumstances we're currently experiencing, but I do support the publication of the one we've currently got.
Yeah, no, thank you. I agree. But we won't be alone in that, will we, in terms of reports in the future going forward, taking into account of the last 5 months. Anybody else? I'm not seeing any hands, and I'm not seeing anything in the chat box. So if there isn't anything else, we'll go to the vote then. So Alison, can you do the necessary?
Chair. It's just the statutory members that will vote on approving this annual report. So, okay. Councillor Clive Lloyd.
Yes, 4.
Nuria Zole.
4.
Councillor Jan Curtis.
4.
Martin Evans.
4.
Adam Hill.
4.
And Roger Thomas.
4.
That's carried, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alison. That's and thank you everyone for, as I say, contributions. We then move on to item 8, which is letters for information. You would have seen the copy of the letters emailed from Leanne, but they're all attached to the papers. Some interesting letters, some of which I suspect may form the basis of a discussion going forth. So I don't intend to go through them in any detail unless anyone's got any specific they want to raise at this point. They're just for information for this meeting. Roger?
Yeah, I just wanted to come in on the review of strategic partnerships, which is part of the WLGA work, and particular. I mean, it's been a I'll perhaps choose my words carefully. It's been a subject of debate, I think, with a number of us in terms of the commitment we have to show. And I'll speak as an individual organisation in terms of the capacity for a relatively small organisation to commit. And I'm not talking just about PSPs. We're not a member of RPBs, but we are a member of a number of other partnership arrangements. For me, public sector should be no gaps, no overlaps, and I just feel there are too many overlaps and too many sort of repeating agendas and forums that I think suck too much time, to be honest. And that was the issue that was raised, I think, within the executive summary of the report. I know I appreciate that you perhaps haven't got that in front of you at the moment, but the key issues to raise, the very first one is there's too many partnerships, too many meetings, and this is across the board, not just from sort of single agencies, but particularly that many organisations attend multiple partnerships in any given region. So that's a significant challenge for all of us in terms of time, in terms of shrinking organisations, and the ability to actually turn up and make a difference, I think, has been a challenge. I know I'm repeating a lot of things that we've previously raised. So I think when this report first got commissioned, I was quite encouraged, really, and actually we might make a difference. When you come to the recommendations, which start on page 22 there, all it really says in there are 3 broad recommendations with some sort of theme, 3 per theme, I should say, making a total of 11 recommendations in total. But it doesn't really move us on any forward. All it says is really no new partnerships to be established or required, no new functions to be given to existing partnerships. So instead of, I think the problem is here, it's not somewhere down the line. I think we've already met that we've crossed that bridge. We're at that point where we have a problem, as opposed to, okay, I'm accepting they're not going to make it any worse by introducing new partnerships or introducing new functions within partnerships, but I don't think that really addresses the issue. So I would like to perhaps see a response come back from the group that, you know, again, without leading the witness, as they say, but if that is the broad sense and feeling within the group that, you know, we perhaps to come back to, you know, we do want to see some revision. We want to see fewer groups with a little bit more strategic intent perhaps coming out of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Roger. Adam?
Thanks. Echo really what Roger said. Very, very good points and well made. You know, we've said this a number of times. We were hoping that the review of the strategic partnerships would come out and have a bit more teeth to it to really give us that flexibility. It talks a lot of how we can be flexible and sort of combine with others and how we could potentially merge. However, most of the partnerships that we do have are legislative in manner, so thereby we're directed, we have to have them. You know, the PSB one is a prime example, the RPBs. So although on one hand it talks about flexibility, perhaps moving on to a regional where we could perhaps, you know, look at PSBs merging together to have that greater good, we unfortunately can't do that currently because the legislation won't allow it to do that. So we're almost fighting against ourselves in terms of where we want to go. So I would concur with what Roger says in terms of probably a response from this group going back saying that we'd like to see more flexibility and more availability to devolve those legislative powers to either local authorities, public sector bodies and partners to shape the future as it best fits the locality, rather than one size fits all across the whole of Wales, which the PSB, if we take as an example, may work in one area because that's needed, whereas what we've seen through COVID is that there are a number of other bodies that have responded really well in order to deliver what we needed to deliver. And in fairness, the PSB really wasn't there as part of that COVID response. It was as individuals, it was as part of a group of other agencies coming together, but actually the PSB didn't really feature in terms of any COVID response. And that for me speaks volumes moving forward in terms of the role that the PSB has currently and probably shouldn't have moving forward.
Okay. Martin?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just going to underline, I'm pleased that Roger raised it and Adam kind of supported that really, because I think had that determination or decision been made probably closer to now, it might have been different, because I think it really underestimates the impact on capacity across, you know, public, private and third sector that COVID is having. And COVID comes with a cost to the public purse, so that issue around capacity is going to get even worse next year. And I fear for some of the NGOs whether they'll resurface or not after COVID, you know, because it's impacting particularly on them. But the public sector's not spared that either. And as I say, there'll be a real cost to it. So, and there's an element of, so there is a plethora of partnership vehicles around. There are too many, and we are where we are. And there's an element of osmotic effect, you know, movement of one solution to another, depending perhaps where the finances and the funding is strongest, really. But we do have a strong basis here in Swansea to operate, so I'm not overly concerned about it. But I do think that the landscape's a bit too cluttered. There is scope, you know, even though we can't, you know, merge. I know that you know, the 4 public service boards in Gwent, for example, are operating as a greater Gwent entity. I know that Conwy and Gwynedd, I think, are acting together, or is it Gwynedd and Anglesey? So there's nothing stopping us working closely together across PSBs, as I know that we do anyway, you know, across to Neath Talbot and perhaps westwards from my perspective in terms of our footprint as an organisation. So I don't think we should lose confidence ourselves in what we can achieve by working not just ourselves, but with others too.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Listen, I agree. I think we need to take the initiative on this one. I think the last 4 months has probably been a catalyst for a rethink about how we operate on a regional basis. You know, I said in my opening comments that we've all been heavily involved in the COVID response and in helping the communities in one way or another just hasn't been through the Public Service Board. It's been through other key regional partnerships, and I stress regional because it was a combined effort across mainly Swansea, Nice, Port Talbot, and hugely important the work with the Health Board. I think nobody would disagree that the closeness of working together between local authorities and the Health Board has been as great as it's ever been, not in the last 10 years, not ever been. And I think we need to harness that and look at how we're able to deliver going forward. And I think, again, without going into what we might talk about in the coming weeks or hours even, I think we do have to, look at how the regional structures operate best for the people that we're looking to serve. So, and I'm not convinced that we've got it completely right here. So I think a response is in order along the lines. The only thing I would say is that to join together and to merge, there has to be two willing partners at this moment in time. So there may be a bit of work that we need to do with some of our regional colleagues in persuading them along those lines. And Adam might want to say a bit more about that. But I definitely think that we need to seize the initiatives going forward and agree with what Roger, Martin and Adam has said in terms of overkill of regional structures. It needs to be far more targeted and succinct going forward. And I think we have some of those in place, but moving along a regional footprint, I think has to be the way forward for a lot of it and minimising those meetings. So if nobody's got any other comments at this stage, not least again as well, don't forget we've got no finance as a Public Service Board this year for the rest of the financial year as well. So that, let's not forget that as well. We're going to be operating for the next 6 months or so without any direct funding from Welsh Government for various reasons. So Adam, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, just on a couple of things. I think, first of all, to again echo, not to repeat, but, the one thing the partnership has done, the PSB, is brought us together prior to COVID to make those connections and links. And I'd just like to offer my personal thanks to all the partners around the table for their response during COVID for the residents of Swansea. I think, what we have seen is a brilliant response from everybody. That it was never that's not my job. It was how can we help? And I think that should be truly recognised, Clive, as you were saying, in terms of how we have come together to actually, battle COVID and work together shoulder to shoulder right the way through. So I think that's very important and shouldn't be lost. Just in terms of the regional footprint, the rub we've got with that is that one at the current time, we've approached other authority areas to see if they would like to join. They've refused currently. But we also have the rub that the legislation says that we do have to have one ourselves. And so until the legislation changed, that would also be a difficulty. So I think what we certainly could do, though, is perhaps reduce the number of meetings or even look at a co-production model that means that we could still keep a little bit of independence while still working together. We all have the same issues and initiatives that we have to deliver. You look at the programmes that people are dealing with, they're almost echoed across South Wales and certainly into the West. So there is lots of working together we could do and need to do. And hopefully COVID will have helped us just see just how important it is that we do work together on that regional footprint. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, Clive. Just on the funding. And it's only in terms of, if you look at the letters, there's obviously one from Welsh Government saying that funding is being withdrawn, understandably because of COVID, but therefore in the next letter it then says that how important the PSBs are for dealing with recovery, yet they've just pulled the funding out of what they see as the primary role that a PSB could have. So just ironic, I guess, really, that something that's so important gets all its funding pulled, which is a bit of a disappointment. And although it says that, we shouldn't take that to heart, how can you not, when you're seen as supposedly one of the leaders for recovery, yet the funding's pulled? So a little disappointing, I think, from Welsh Government in terms of doing that.
Okay. Roger?
Thanks, Clive. I just echo Adam's comments and also those of Martin and yourself previously. Just to say, I think I think we've all been I say critical, but we've been quite sort of introspective in terms of the way we looked at what we could provide, and some frustrations in terms of the pace of progress. I think some of our best work was when we've come together, particularly with Neath Talbot, in terms of the county lines issues, some of the suicide preventions, which are all when you look at the ethos and the setting up of the PSBs, it was all about future change. It was all about long-term prevention work. We've done really well in a crisis sort of response situation, which sort of flies in the face of what the PSBs were set up to do. That's not to sort of denigrate the way the work has been done, but it's perhaps sort of not what the sort of intended outcomes were. Just going back to that report, it does talk about one of the recommendations says that strategic partnerships should play an active role in terms of they're aligned more closely, and that there should be fewer partnerships. So it is pushing us towards that merger. As you say, once you merge, you can't unmerge. So that's perhaps that's a bit of a barrier in some of that sense of actually if things do break down and don't work particularly effectively, then there's no way back then, which is a challenge, and that's perhaps displays or has been displayed in some of the reticence to move towards that. But it does say the multi-purpose strategic partnerships do have a role and should play a leadership role in that. So that's probably onto us as well. But I know we are trying to forge closer links, and that is challenging. It goes back to funding, though. I think you actually hit the nail on the head there. For me, if we wanted to really pump prime this, I think Welsh Government should have not only brought up the legislation, but brought some funding streams in with it that could only been accessed through collaborative, grant bids. And I think that would have really kick-started, got that work together, formed those sort of networks, and then we would have got it. But like I say, it's that has happened. But like I say, I think it's there is some good stuff that come out of it. I think we shouldn't take our eye off the ball there. Thanks, Clive.
Okay, Martin, do you want to come back in, Martin?
Only because Roger just reminded me of something. I'm about to write to us as a PSB, actually, from NRW's perspective, as we are across all other 18 PSBs in Wales, to notify us of the availability of 25k. It'll be per year for the next 3 years that we've put aside in our organisation. That's 450k in total across the 19 PSBs. Simply because we think it's important to try and put a bit of cash in the pockets of the PSBs to catalyse or pump prime some of the work. So I'll be writing to you next week. Halfway through the year, the letter will recognise that, but we've got to start somewhere. So we're looking to see whether we can spend that money this year if we can. If we can put it to any good, kind of probably urgent cause, and then put a foot in the ball, and then think about how we could maybe get best use of that 25k each year for the next 3 years. So we're trying to put a little bit into it, and you'll hear from us next week.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Martin. That'll be welcome. A welcome letter. So, does anybody else want to come in? I'm not hearing any. I think we've got a general theme here, Adam. So, can we go away and draft something, me and you, and we'll circulate it to members in advance? Yeah. Before we send anything, unless anybody says anything different from that approach, I'm assuming you're all happy with that. Okay. Thanks, everyone. And that takes us to the end of the meeting. So thanks, everyone, for attending, and look forward to seeing you in a few minutes. Thanks.
Thanks, Clive.
Everybody. Bye.